Bloody hell. You won't see him in the second half. He was absolute trash.
Yes people, what's happening, and welcome to the Frankie Allen YouTube channel. You are here with me, Will Cranny, and the UK's most feared comedian, Frankie Allen. Please, if you haven't already, get yourself subscribed. Give us a big thumbs up on the channel. What do you reckon? Get themselves subscribed?
Get subscribed to the channel, keep the ball rolling. You know, we're all looking for things to do, keep yourself busy, and this is one of them, and we're doing great. We're on the roll with this, so get subscribed.
Nice one. Today we are going to talk you through the top 3 deaths on stage that Frankie Allen has faced throughout his career. Can you tell everyone first, what does a death on stage mean?
What he tries to say is, any performer that's been on stage, you don't have a fantastic night every night. You can go in front of a crowd, they can be very, very noisy, so noisy that nobody will listen to you, and you just listen to your own voice. 300, 400, 500 people looking at you, but nobody laughs, which is horrible. You can go on stage and be booed off. You can go on stage where people are threatening. But all these situations, comedians and artists, singers, when you come off stage, they say, I've just died.
Yeah.
That's the terminology. You've died on stage, because I think that the actual feeling that you've got of humiliation and shame, when you're standing there, don't forget the sweat is pissing off you. You lose all your saliva in your mouth. So anyone who's a comedian or a singer said that if you have a bad time and you die, your mouth kind of sticks together like that, because there's nothing in your mouth, because it's a nervous reaction. And I think they call it dying because it's possibly how you'd feel if you were dying, like, and you knew you were dying, you're a few minutes away from actual death. It's very similar. So I've died thousands of times in the clubs, especially when I'm starting off. And we're going to talk about some of the worst ones today.
So let's get into it. We are going to talk about Frankie Allen's top 3 deaths on stage where he was absolutely maybe booed off, maybe had the curtain pulled on, and maybe, you know, have you had any tomatoes thrown at you or anything like that?
Well, I've had pint glasses thrown at me, you know, people kicking off. I've had the manager of a club holding 2 fellas back who wanted to fill me in, and they're throwing glasses over his head, smashing next to me when I'm on the stage. But you know, that's kind of going to come under the category of roughest gigs really, innit? But where I've died, where the humiliation and the shame has been worse than probably being pulled in, these are the 3 that you want to listen to.
Alright, so let's get into it. We're going to go with the 3 times, the top 3 times Frankie Allen has died on stage, and we're going to hit with number 3 first. Where was it? What was it? When was it?
Number 3 was probably a very bad death with regard to shame, really, because I just started working for an agency. In the 80s, everybody was working in entertainment. You had to work for a reputable agency. They had the monopoly of all the work in the social clubs. It was the social clubs with the scene. They were the big thing. So every Saturday and Sunday in the social clubs, they had artists on, singer, comedian and a band. They were always chock-a-block, 200, 300, 400, 500 people in the big labour clubs. And they were good nights, basically. The only problem was the crowd were very, very old. They were kind of like, not baby boomers, born just after the war, yet probably born during the war or before the war. So in the 80s, they were in like the 60s and 70s. They were too old really, but they used to go there for the bingo. So they had this thing, a little bit of prejudice against younger people, and they didn't like anything blue. Get into this place, Bromborough, on the Wirral, near Birkenhead, British Legion. Now the place had a reputation for being a bit snobby, but when I walked in and saw the crowd, oh, I went, yeah, what a snobby crowd. All the women had like blue rinse. Can you imagine someone white hair, but with like bits of blue or bits of purple in it, and these glasses with like fucking big points on the end, just like Dave Edna Average, if anyone remembers, you know, Barry Humphries doing that. They would all look like that. All the fellas were sitting there, and they were all like old war people, you know, they'd been in the war, and they had medals on, and no hair, and fucking grey things, and big chins hanging down. It was fucking horrible. Very, very old people.
Yeah.
So I go in, the guy comes up to me, and they always had an attitude, you know, who are you, and what do you do, what's your name? Okay, I've never heard of you. go on at 9 o'clock, go on from 9 till 10, do an hour, which I couldn't do.
Yeah.
Then we'll put you back on, you do another 40 minutes.
How old are you?
Fucking nightmare at the time. I've got to be about 22 or something like that, you know, only very young, 21, 22. So I've been working for a few years then, but I knew instinctively when I walked into the place, I was going to have a hard time. So a girl singer went on. There was a big room of 300 or 400 people in. And as I say, it's a weird thing, isn't it? Have you ever met anybody where when you meet them, you don't feel a good vibe, you feel kind of threatened by them, and you can pick up that they don't like you, and you don't like them, just not your kind of crowd, you don't interact with them at all, you feel a bad vibe. So as soon as I walked in, I went, oh no, this isn't for me. Yeah. What me and my mate Danny used to call him, because he was a comedian, Danny Down, and going around the clubs, he's in Benidorm now. We used to say, what were the crowd like last night? And he used to say, the one I did, they were all coffin dodgers. That's what we used to say, because they were so fucking old, and we were only young kids. Anyway, this girl singer went on singing ballads and all that. She went okay, but I knew the crowd were very, very quiet. And I thought, no, they're not giving her any respect really, just a little bit of applause, and they were talking when she was on. So I said, okay, yeah. Getting a bit nervous, getting ready to go on. But at past 8, 20 to 9, too early. Huge windows on the side of the club with the sun streaming through. Really not the atmosphere to put a comedian on, you know. You need like darkness and just light on the stage. But it was horrible, you could hear the buses outside. Like doing a show standing in the street. It was fucking horrible. Anyway, the compere came out and he went, oh, we've got a young lad. And in those days I was doing impressions. Used to do a lot of comedy impressions. Believe it or not, it's going to sound like a joke. I used to do Rolf Harris, people like him, Cliff Richard. Anyway, came out and I was feeling very nervous, and whether or not that kind of relayed itself to the crowd, I don't know. But as soon as it came out, started doing Cliff Richard. Had this vicar's collar on, because he was like a bit of a holy man at the time. He used to go to like spiritual things, didn't he? Cliff Richard had a collar on. The organist was playing a hymn, and I had these glasses on. I came out as Cliff Richard and went, hi fans, doing a few dances as Cliff Richard. Anyway, no laughter at all, nothing, but they were very quiet, like a jury in a court, just sitting there, just staring at me, as though they were saying, you're fucking rubbish, make me laugh. Yeah. So I'm doing Cliff Richard. The more I'm not hearing the laughter, the more I'm panicking, so I can feel my heart beating like fuck. I can feel like me breathing going to like palpitation, and like I couldn't get me breath. So the sweat starting to pour off me. Because this bastard wanted me to do an hour, I had to make the Cliff Richard routine stretch for about 15 minutes, and it was only worth 5 minutes. I only had 5 minutes worth of material. So jumping around on the stage, singing congratulations and celebrate. No fucking laughter, nothing at all. The sweat was actually dripping off my nose and splashing onto the floor. I could see it splashing on the floor. Now, as time was going on, I felt that bad that this is the first 10 minutes. Felt so ill doing it. No one had died, no one was getting no reaction. My hand was going like a claw. I don't know whether I was having a stroke, I was only 22, or whether I was having like a nervous reaction. But my hand was like a fucking claw, so I had to put it behind my back. Still trying to do the gags. So then I thought, well, I'm going to try something else. I'll try something else. Turn round, I'll do my best impression. Now, I thought if I do my best impression, that might save the day. They may start laughing, or at least they might start clapping, oh, that's very good. And I might be able to do the rest of the act. So my best impression at the time, anyone can remember him, was David Bellamy, the botanist. He had a ginger beard, ginger hair. So I got to my suitcase, which was on a chair, pulled off all the Cliff Richard stuff. As I pulled it off, it was just as though it had been washed, as though it hadn't washed. Sweat just splashed into the suitcase, the bottom of the suitcase. And I'm hearing the crowd now all starting to talk, and they were all saying, I know what they were saying, they were all saying, he's terrible, he's rubbish, he's rubbish, he's rubbish. So I've got this fucking false beard. I'm trying to get this beard on, and I'm shaking. This beard is David Bellamy. I'm putting this wig on as David Bellamy, and I'm trying to get my mouth to go because it all dried up. So I turn around and I do my David Bellamy and I'm going, basically all these plants are creepy quarter. Oh yes, so I'm standing there, and all of a sudden somebody shouts, rubbish!
Yeah.
I went, oh no, please don't. I tried to carry on and go, oh, because I'm in the thing of doing the impression right in the middle of it, can't come out of it. And I'm going, you know, we're in London, we're in London, or, you know, we're looking for crustaceans. He used to do a thing under the sea. We're looking for crustaceans. We've got St. Crustacean, King Crustacean. Very silly gag. Then the same fella shouts out, get off, you rubbish. So I'm starting to shake, but I wanted to get paid and needed the money. Got back in my fucking suitcase, looking around for something else. Thought I'll do me John Wayne. So I've got this John Wayne hat on, doing this cowboy thing. I'm trying to walk along the stage, and as I walk along the stage, I thought I was having a stroke because I felt something on my ankle. I thought, oh no, I'm dying, I'm gonna die. I felt that ill. And when I looked round, it was the MC, the compere of the place, you know, the boss. He had me by the feet and he's dragging me off and he's screaming, get off! Yeah, and as he drags me off, he's dragging me down. They closed the curtains on me, one of the side of the curtains hit me. Then the organist started playing. So I just went in the dressing room, collapsed in the dressing room. I couldn't even speak, and the sweat was pissing off me. And they wouldn't even speak to me, they hated me that much. About 10 minutes later, there was a knock on the door, a little kid. They sent this little kid in that was in the bar or something with the mother. I said, what? He said, look, I've been told to give you this. And it was an envelope, and I should have been on 40 quid. And they just give me 10 quid, you know, so. I had no car then. I was getting the bus everywhere, I was only a kid. And I had to walk out into the fucking night, sweating like fucking hell, dripping in sweat, feeling very, very ill, looking round to try and get a taxi. And I had 10 quid that they'd given me, got the taxi back through the tunnel, back to where I lived in Liverpool. Halfway home, or nearly, we got to Liverpool, but when we got out the tunnel, the taxi driver said, this is as far as I can take you for 10 quid. So then I had to walk about 3 miles to get home. Oh, it was terrible, freezing cold night. It was a fucking nightmare. Now the guy who done that to me in the club, he's probably gone now anyway, dead, isn't he? But you know, this is what I mean. A lot of these kids that start off now, they've got my every sympathy because people in this country can be very ageist, jealous of young people. I was only a kid then. They gave me a terrible time. And that was probably one of the worst deaths I've ever had.
So, on to number 2 on the list. Don't know how I can get much worse than number 3, but you know, you tell us, where was it, when was it, why was it, what happened?
Number 2 on the list. Now, I never did very well. You just heard the number 3 on the list. I never did very well for some reason with older people. When I was a kid, older people used to fucking hate me. I don't know why, really. I think it's because, not just being a Scouser, but a lot of people who aren't Scousers live in different cities. You get a kind of a look about you that you're a kind of, I don't know, maybe I looked a bit rough and ready. For a lot of these conservative clubs, British Legion clubs, they were kind of very snobby. A lot of the people there were ex-servicemen, or they'd fought in the war, and they had a little bit of a chip on the shoulder about, you know, young people. There was a thing about, you know, hating young people and the lazy and whatever. There really was in the 80s. So it was a bit of a prejudice against us as young people. So I didn't. So anyway, I'd done great. Even when I was a kid, I always done very well with younger people. And where I could swear, you know, a lot of the older people, they hated language. When you've done a conservative club in England, anywhere in Wales, Scotland, anywhere in the 80s, you could not swear. If you swore, they would not pay you. You get fucked off out the club, and you get people shouting out, "Stop the language!" you know, in the crowd. So it was very, very difficult. I sat down one day and I thought, why am I dying in these clubs? Why do people hate me? I thought, well, what it might be the look. Maybe I look too young and they feel kind of threatened, as though I'm some kind of scallywag that they'd see in the street. Or I don't know what it was, but I thought, I've got to rearrange my act, get a new act together. So at the time there was a thing on the TV called Heidi High, and it was all about holiday camps. There was a holiday camp, it was a comedy, situation comedy, very popular, people remember it. I had done the idea of going out on stage and saying to the crowd, trying to win them over, get on the right side of them, kind of sucking up to them in a way, and trying to be nice.
Sucking up to them, saying what?
Well, I knew that I looked a bit rough and ready, like a gangster, and they looked at me. And a lot of places, it has to be said, when you're introduced as being from Liverpool, the rivalry between different areas in the country, go to some places and they just didn't like you because of this cancer. So I had all that against me. So I'm trying to win them over by being ultra nice, trying to project a kind of like image of the boy next door, be very nice. And somebody said to me, Frankie, you're too angry, with the crowd. Be nice to people. Try it out on Abbey Road Conservative Club, it was called. Anyway.
Where is it?
It's in Barrow, in fairness. It's gone now. There's Abbey Road, goes right through Barrow. Anyone up there will know, remember.
That's Cumbria, isn't it?
Cumbria, yeah. There used to be a big club there, Abbey Road Conservative Club. And as I say, the Conservative clubs always had, top flight comedians on, singers, but nobody was allowed to swear. They didn't like you if you swore. Very nervous before it went on. It's a huge club. They'd had a singer on. The crowd were a little bit noisy. A lot of them were only there for the bingo. So I walked out, had the mic, so shouted to the crowd, Heidi hi. And they all shouted back, Heidi ho. So I thought, this is great. Got a response. They like me and I like them. So I said, are we going to have a laugh tonight, everybody? And they all went, yeah. Are you sure we're going to have a laugh? And they all went, yeah. First gag that I did, told this joke, somebody shouted out straight away, say something funny.
What was your gag?
Can't remember.
Go on.
So I just died, no laughs. And I said, just a minute, mate. Then there was a horrible atmosphere because the guy was kicking off, started doing a few impressions, a few gags. I'm dying, and I mean dying on my arse. Now this is how bad things were for me at the time. I was getting good money then in the 80s, what you'd call good money. It wasn't a lot of money now. I think I was getting 70 quid. Now I needed that 70 quid. And as I said before, if you didn't bring the house down or at least do very well in the clubs, they would not pay you, or they'd give you 20 quid and say, look, don't come back on in the second half.
Yeah.
So I needed that 70 quid, and I needed it to pay the fucking rent the next day. Had to be paid. Didn't have any money. Borrowed money for petrol to get myself up there. So I'm on stage, all this is on my mind, that I'm desperate for the money. After 2 or 3 minutes, I knew I was dying, knew there was no way back, I was never going to get any laughs from them. Got a fella heckling me, say something funny. So done a couple of gags, got a little bit of a titter with the crowd. I thought, bloody hell, I might be okay here, might be getting a few fucking laughs. So carried on. Anyway, I'm having to go back at this fella. And said, so I can't even remember what I said, because you go into a kind of autopilot when you're dying, where you don't even know what you're saying. And I think I swore, I told him to fuck off, which he shouldn't have done, but it got a little bit of a laugh. So I thought, I've got to do half an hour, 40 minutes. So again, sweating, my fucking mouth was gone, and ringing in my ears. Felt horrible, it felt as though, literally I was dying. So managed to get through the first half an hour, get into the dressing room, very little applause when it came off. The compere came in the dressing room and he went, bloody hell, that was hard work, wasn't it? That was hard work. And I thought he was going to say, look, here's 20 quid, fuck off. But he didn't, and he said, I hope you're better in the second half. Little did he know, I had no more material to do. I'd done it all because I was rushing through all the material. I had nothing to do. All I was going to do was go out there and stand there, but I needed the fucking money. So I thought, what the fuck? And I was in such a, and I thought, I'm going to get thrown out of me flat this week, got no money. Everything was resting on me, getting paid on this fucking place, this horrible fucking club where I just died in the first half. So I said to myself, Frankie, come on, get a bit of, stand up for yourself, don't be hiding in the dressing room. Go downstairs, there were 3 flights of stairs to the big room, they called it a concert room in this club, fucking big huge club. So go downstairs, go to the bar, have a drink in front of people, don't give a fuck, feel confident, when people see you being confident, maybe in the second half, you'll probably go down a little bit better. At least they'll have a bit of respect for you. So I went and got dressed. So I'm on my way down to the flight of stairs, which is going down. It's like going to a football game. Hundreds of people are going downstairs. You always used to go downstairs to the bar during the interval. Maybe it was cheaper than the upstairs bar. So I'm kind of like hiding, didn't want people to see who it was. In front of me was this fucking big fat old woman with purple hair. I'll never forget, she had like this thing called a club foot, which is a fucking big shoe, you know, because I don't know what had happened, they had no foot, but she had this club foot. So she had her two sons holding her up, like, and she had to go down. She was holding everyone up, going down the stairs very, very slowly. And as she's going down the stairs, I'm right behind her. Nobody was speaking, everyone's going down, you know, there's no one really talking. All of a sudden, she pipes up and she goes,
"Bloody hell, you won't see him in the second half. He was absolute trash."
And what was your reaction to that?
Just felt like someone hit me with a hammer, didn't know what to do.
Yeah.
I'm behind her, and to be honest with this fellow was standing and he looked at me and he just went, I thought what to say. So then I thought, fuck this, I'm not listening to this all the way down the stairs. I'm trying to get back up the stairs by walking backwards. So as I'm fucking walking backwards up the stairs, everyone's saying, who's pushing? It's the comedian, what's he trying to do? I thought he would have been thrown out and they all turned on me. It was like a fucking nightmare. So I turned right round, ran up the stairs, got into the dressing room. The fella came in. I said, listen mate, I'd gone then, I was having like a breakdown. I said, give me me fucking money. And he went, oh, don't worry, I'll give you it. So he gave me the 70 quid then, sat down, I knew then it was okay, went back on stage for the second half, didn't get any fucking laughs. I didn't really care, just kept saying, no material, any Man United fans in, any Everton fans in, all this crap, you know, let's hear the big cheer, is anyone celebrating, and any fucking crap you could think of, done all that, kicked the fucking back door of the club, there was like a fire escape, down into the car park, got in my car, and fucked off, went home. Very, very bad, horrible death I had in that club.
Okay, so now we are at number one, your worst death on stage of all time, and it's in Dortmund in Germany. Why?
Yeah, I'll tell you what it was. It was actually during the Gulf War in '91. Now, I used to do an awful lot of work for the British Army in Germany during the 90s and the late 80s, early 90s. Thousands of different places. They were all over. The British Army was stationed in Germany. I used to go to Fallenbostel, Zennerlager, Osnabrück, Berlin, Herford, all these fucking thousands of camps all over Germany. And I used to do quite well with a lot of them. The venues themselves inside the camps were kind of split into JRC, which were junior ranks clubs. They were only squaddies, young kids, 17, 18, 19. You had to entertain them. They weren't a bad crowd, they were okay. Then sometimes you'd done the officers' mess gigs, which were very, very snobby. They were all wearing kind of like dress uniform with red stripes down the side of everything. When the brigadier walked in and the colonel came in, you had to walk under these swords, you know, like Princess Diana's wedding, walking under fucking like swords. And it was like that snobby and things. But the sergeant's mess shows weren't too bad, they were okay. Anyway, so I got this sergeant's mess show to do, and it was in a place called Dortmund in Germany. I was doing 2 nights, doing the Friday night, doing the Saturday night. So great. So I thought this will be okay. The room isn't that big. Sergeant's mess, there'd only be fellows who are in like, they're all sergeants, so they're gonna be like in the 30s, which is ideal for me. There's a few women, but they said he didn't mind it being blue. So I thought this is going to be a stroll in the park for me. Gonna go down great. Flew from Manchester to Dusseldorf. Got picked up on the Friday afternoon by this guy, you know, in this fucking army truck. Taken to the camp. Anybody who's ever worked for the army, it's not glamorous at all. What they give you as regards accommodation is very, very Spartan is the word. I had a room, and in the room was a wardrobe in the corner, a very old wardrobe, and a bed, nothing else. The bed and a blanket, one of these very hairy blankets that'll give you a fucking rash, a sheet and a pillow, no TV, no sink, no nothing. Just a fucking bed in this horrible room and this horrible wardrobe. So fucking hell, you know, staying here for 2 nights, gotta stay in here. Never used to put you up in a hotel unless you're a big star, and I was unknown, you know. Get there, put me stuff in the room and got changed, and there was the naffy that you could go to do a bit of shopping, get something to eat. They had their own canteen. But a lot of the army lads, when they were in uniform, when you walked in and you what they call a civvy, when I was walking in with just a tracksuit on or whatever, they kind of all looked at you. They didn't really like you, you know. They had this thing about being in the army, and they weren't keen on civvies, as they called them. But when they had a few drinks at night, when you were entertaining them, they weren't a bad crowd. You know, I'd done thousands of shows for the army, so I was very experienced. So I thought, this is going to be a stroll in the park. So it comes to about 7 o'clock, and the guy who's organised, the Stevie guy from down south, so I didn't know who he was, and he's with this big huge fella, big fucking Welsh fella that was with him, and he was like a sergeant. So I got talking to the two of them, and he said, look, Frankie, before you go on, let me tell you this. We've got a big problem with a lot of the lads who are coming along tonight with drugs. He says, oh, don't mention drugs. I said, oh, don't mention drugs. He said, don't talk about, you know, people injecting and all. I said, well, don't do anything like that. I've got a gag, and I'll tell you the gag now. What the gag is, I'll say, I was in my house the other day. My brother came home from school, chased in by the police. He had a load of cannabis in his hand. He stuck the cannabis in a cuckoo clock, and he ran upstairs. The police searched the house, couldn't find fuck all. They were on the way out at midnight. The clock struck 12. Cuckoo came out and said, hey man, it's the midnight hour. That was the gag, which I thought innocuous, didn't even make the connection between what he'd said about heroin and smackheads and drugs and, you know, drug abuse and all this, and the gag I was doing. So went on stage, doing a few gags, going down very well. And then I said, oh, Tommy came home from school the other night, he had a big load of cannabis in his hand. That's all I can remember. Well, when I say I can remember it, I wasn't unconscious, but all of a sudden, somebody jumped on me, like rugby tackled me, threw me into a fucking headlock, and I'm on the fucking floor. I'm on the floor in front of like 300 people. This guy has got his arms around my neck and he's strangling me. No, I told you. Anyway, I couldn't fucking breathe. Anyway, eventually he let go. Fucking murder in the club, you know. Some people in the naffy, people are screaming, what's he done? And he's kicking off that guy, that Steve fella. I told him not to mention drugs, So, and he's kicking off, he wants to fight me, and people are holding him back. So, in the end, my bottle's gone, so I'm screaming at him, who the fuck are you, mate? I'll fuck you, come on, let's go. And I wanted to fight him, fucking murder. And then I went outside to calm down, standing by the bar having a drink, and after about half an hour, the same fella came up to me with this fucking kernel. And he went, right, this is the colonel. We don't know what to do about this situation. You were told not to mention drugs. You did mention drugs. So we're not having you on here tomorrow night. Sadly, we can't get rid of you till Monday because your flight's not till Monday. So go back to your room, stay there, take all your kit with you, and don't come out until Monday. Someone will pick you up and take you to the airport. I said, well, so they started kicking off again. So I had to go back to my room on the Saturday night, go to sleep. The next morning, I didn't have any food, nothing to drink. Didn't even dream of going down to the canteen because there'd been that much trouble in the fucking club, in the room that night in the Sergeant's Mess. knew if that guy was there, that Steve or the Colonel, that they'd be kicking up on me again, that there'd be trouble. So I had to sit there the whole day, nothing to do, nothing to read, no TV, just lie there and sit there for 36 fucking hours, starving, until somebody knocked on the door on Monday morning and said, I'm taking you to the airport. So without doubt, that was the worst death I've ever had. Wasn't my fault.
Did you get paid for it?
Yeah, got paid because they paid the agency who I was working for like 2 or 3 weeks before, thank God. So managed to get paid, but the most horrible people I've ever met, Dortmund, army people, I'm sad to say, I know some of them are fantastic, done a lot of work for them, but that particular night, this guy called Steve, whoever the fuck he is, I hope he remembers me, what a prick he was, doing that to me, went for 36 hours with nothing to eat, or 24 hours, whatever the fuck it was, sitting there on the end of this horrible bed with a hairy blanket, with nothing at all to do, from the Saturday night till the Monday morning. That was the worst experience I've had as a comedian.
Nice one. So I hope you enjoyed the top 3 deaths that Frankie Allen has faced on stage. If you did enjoy this video, do give it a thumb up, get yourself subscribed if you haven't already, and comment below which of those experiences you would not like to go through the most. Which one out of the 3 was terrible and you want to...
Well, I don't know. I mean, I think the Germany thing, although I had a terrible death in Abbey Road Conservative Club in Ballinfurnace, at the end of the day, I got the money, came home, and don't forget 1985, whatever it was, 86, getting 80 quid or 75 pound, whatever the fuck I got. I was like a fucking millionaire. Paid me rent, which was only like 20 quid, 15 pound, you know, for the fucking month or whatever. It was just ridiculous, but I had a load of money, so I'd go through that and do that again. But the thing in Germany, when they jumped on me because I mentioned cannabis about a fucking cuckoo clock, I mean, and staying overnight, having to stay in the gigs, you know, in the gig, what you call the digs, for fucking 36 hours. It was a terrible nightmare. That was the worst experience I've ever had.
Nice one. So I hope you enjoyed this video. Do get yourself subscribed to the channel. Do you reckon should they subscribe?
Subscribe to our channel, and I can guarantee not all our shows are like that. They are just the 3 worst experiences I've ever had. And I've got to be honest, they are. So have a think about that. Which one would you least like to go and experience?
Nice one. Thank you very much for watching. We'll see you on the next one. Latest.
See you later.